I just wanted to share with you another bit of information about passages that are being quoted by people that are trying to proselytize you. Most probably someone who's a friend, a peer, maybe a professor, maybe someone gave you a book to read or some literature, or a tape or a video of someone, and they're trying to get you to look at it, and it could be very confusing because you're not that familiar with the Jewish perspective. And I just want to tell you a story. There was a young man who went to the University of Arizona. His name, I'll call him Randy. He was rooming with a friend who was not Jewish, who during their time in school got very actively involved and became an evangelical Christian. Randy, being Jewish, wasn't that interested in evangelical Christianity, so his friend invited him to experience what's called Messianic Judaism, where there are Jews who have accepted Jesus as their Messiah and they accept him as God and part of the Trinity. So when Randy was introduced to me to speak to him, I always recommended that we have an open dialogue and that he could talk to anyone he wanted to get a response to things that I was pointing out, but it should be very open-minded and there should be a lot of use of critical thinking skills. One of the passages he quoted to me and asked me for an explanation for was in the book of Isaiah. And in another short video I'm going to give you a more in-depth explanation of it. But for the purposes now, this was from the 7th chapter of Isaiah, chapter 14. And it's a famous quote that Christians like to tell people about, that says that a virgin will give birth to a child and call his name Emmanuel. And they translate Emmanuel as meaning God is with us. Now, in an earlier video I pointed out that whenever a passage is quoted to us, it's very important for us to make sure that we know the context and that we also know what the Hebrew really says. And without going into all the details right now, I just want to point out that this passage in Isaiah 7, chapter 14, there are a number of translation mistakes. First of all, the Hebrew word alma, which Christians translate as virgin, is used 7 times in the Bible. And in every single place in a Jewish translation, it's translated as a young woman, not as a virgin. And interestingly, in Christian translations, in the other 6 places outside and beyond Isaiah 7:14, they also translate it as a young woman. So they're kind of being inconsistent. 6 places they translated young woman, and only here they translated virgin. They also translate the verse in the future tense to make it sound like it must be a prophecy of something that's going to take place far in the future, that a woman will give birth to a child. The fact is, if we look at the Hebrew grammar, we'll find that this verse is actually written in the present tense, that it's actually has taken place already. But there's one other point that I want to make, because I'm not going to really go into depth about this chapter. I'll save that for another video. When Randy went back to the people that he was talking to who were Christian and he told them this answer, they came back with an interesting statement. They told them that they had a book written by someone who said that an ancient rabbi who lived in the 1200s named Rashi, that he actually said that the birth of this child would be a miracle. So therefore the person in this book was trying to imply that there has to be something miraculous about this birth. So obviously that could be confusing, because why would some rabbi make this statement? So I asked Randy the following question: can you think of any other story in the Bible where a woman gave birth to a child and it was considered a miracle? And he, like everyone else that I've ever told this to, immediately said, obviously, it's Sarah. Sarah, the first matriarch of Judaism, who was married to Abraham. She was 90 years old. She couldn't have children. She was not able to bear children at this point in her life. And they prayed to God, and a miracle occurred that she actually gave birth. But no one assumes that Sarah was a virgin. In fact, we can see from the Torah, from the Jewish Bible, it's very clear that she and Abraham had relations and that they had tried to have children before. So just because Rashi, this rabbinic commentator, said that it was a miracle, doesn't mean automatically that the miracle must be that she was a virgin. It could be simply a miracle that she was not expecting to have a child, or or not at this time in her life expecting a child. It could have been anything, but it doesn't prove anything about the fact that she's a virgin. And in fact, as I said earlier, from the context, we could see that and from the translation, that the word doesn't mean virgin, it means a young woman. And also, in the next chapter of Isaiah, this woman, who was Isaiah's wife, that's who he was speaking about, actually gives birth to a child and fulfills all the prophecies that he was speaking about in chapter 7. And we'll go into the full explanation of it next time. So listen, I hope this helped you a little bit, and realize that even when someone quotes you a passage that appears to be from a rabbinical source, even that passage could be taken out of context, it could be mistranslated, or it could be referring to something that has nothing to do with what the person who's showing it to you is trying to tell you. So I'll see you next time, and we'll do another passage that will be helpful. And remember, if you need help immediately, call our office, and we'll be there to help you. Take care.